Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, guys, welcome to another session of the Transform Sales Podcast, So Soft Review. Your host here, Dave Menjura, and I have a special guest today. We have Hugo from PartnerProgram.AI, which is the co-founder. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. Great to speak again.
Awesome. Well, guys, those that are watching, we're going to be talking about how you can scale partnerships without burnout. So before we begin, I do want to ask you, how did this idea came up? How did the company was created? If you could give us a little details on that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So me and my co-founder, Max, we worked together many, many years ago. And then we stayed in SaaS in different places. So going from global organizations and really big companies to, again, faster paced startups at the cutting edge of technology. And one of the challenges that they were looking for is kind of how can we scale? And there's two ways people have gone about this. One is really throwing the kitchen sink into sales and service. Big term hiring, heavy on the outbound, which can be a high risk play. And then another way is to grow kind of more conservatively, risk averse, and kind of grow a bit more logically. We thought the answer was kind of somewhere in the middle, and we'd seen excellent results from partnerships. And this had kind of come about. It started off very much through consulting work, trying to replicate some of the work of global partnerships for, faster paced startups. And then as we went on, we realized that there was a bigger and bigger gap in the market for a partner portal that kind of addressed the needs that we were seeing that were kind of largely unmet in the space.
Got it. So were you seeing a lot of manual work, a lot of, the topic here is burnout, right? So I'm guessing in my case, it requires a lot of manual work. I also been in this field because I also manage partner programs, and I know there was some challenges that I faced. For example, where I didn't know how to even speak to these people, right? So how to get a deal across, how to document this information, and having a tool like this one definitely has made my day-to-day a lot easier, right? So This is definitely going to be an interesting topic, not only because I see the value that it brings, but also because I experience a lot of challenges. So this is definitely something that's going to be great for us.
Yeah. So people experiencing burnout. And I think it's like you said, it's necessary to have a portal. And one of the phrases that we heard before actually building this, so we spoke to over 100 industry leading professionals to actually kind of validate this idea before we got into it. One of the things that we heard more than once or twice was necessary evil. And we wanted to get away from it being something that was necessary to being something that's fantastic to have for both vendors and partner, because they're the ones doing the work.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I've seen a lot in this industry when it comes to this PRMs is that sometimes you have like this very high qualified partner, and maybe there's links that are not working, the submission is not working, and then those deals actually get closed. And then obviously the person knows that they brought those leads in. They're getting notification from those buyers that purchased, but there's no way for them to back up the deal that was closed. So now that could affect some relationships later on. So having a program like this and well set up is very essential to keep those relationships strong, and obviously to keep the people motivated to continue promoting, right?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail. I think you hit the nail right on the head. So I think that's what we were really looking to do, was kind of decomplicate the process. So pull out a lot of features that are kind of being strapped onto PRMs that just don't make sense from a logical point of view. But then also, doing other things like really speeding up processes. So being able to sign up a new partner in 60 seconds, and for a new partner to be able to log on the platform, and all they need to do is type in a password, and suddenly they have access to a load of stuff that's going to help them sell. So I think it's really helping you sell to your partners.
I agree. And one of the things you just mentioned is enabling them to properly sell, right? I feel like one of the main things that partners, especially me, I look for a good amount of resources for me to be well equipped to promote, right? And what I've seen, for example, we use PartnerStack, right? And one of the things that we found the most value is being able to have those resources where I can go ahead and share that with the audience that's promoting and they're ready to promote, right? So awesome. I did wanted to ask you a question just so we can start moving forward is what alternatives were your customer using before buying your software?
Yes, so that's a good question. I think so. We've had a few people move over from other PRMs just because of the ease of use and again, some requests from partners. But primarily, the main competition here has been stuff like, primary CRM tools. So stuff like HubSpot, Salesforce, and a mixture of Excel spreadsheets. So I think it's kind of serving an underserved community because I think especially once you get into the realms of having £1 million sales targets, like you want a way to be able to have full visibility over the pipeline that's coming in and a bit more control of, when you want to involve yourself in certain deal cycles, where to focus your energy, especially once you're dealing with, partnerships that have got, bigger volumes in terms of sales, but also bigger volumes in terms of individuals and of course, more partnerships overall.
Of course. And one thing that I think is very important is the visibility, right? If you're able to see who are your top performers, it gives you a sense like, hey, maybe I should invest more resources here. Maybe I should support them with some sponsor ads, for example, right? And then you can definitely try to generate more revenue off those efforts, right? And I see that work very well, right? For example, I had a success promoting programs and they reached out to me and say, hey, I see that you're doing good. You got good activity. Let me go ahead and support you on that. And then they comment, they reshare, or they even invest in ads so that you could get more visibility, right? So it
Yeah.
also helps.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you're talking about there because we noticed that dynamic is, I guess it kind of echoes across all of sales and it really echoes within sales teams as well. And so it was funny. It was in one of my prior roles many years ago. I was doing cybersecurity channel sales for a major provider. And we were working with a reseller and they happened to have a big team of like, I think 40 or 50 sales reps who were able to resell this solution. And once we started kind of digging into where the success stories were coming from, because the numbers weren't bad, like they were reasonable for a partnership. But once we started digging into this, we found that there were only 4 reps who were kind of submitting regular deals. And we thought, hang on, there's something here. So we did a tremendous multiple of the number on that year by just socializing it across the whole team, which was a lot of work. But what we found is that, again, sales guys, they like the path of least resistance and sales guys all like making money. So if they can see where that's being done, then that's a really powerful story to tell kind of throughout the business. So we made on the platform, what we did is we made the dashboard kind of two ways. So both you're going to have access to that information as a vendor, but also your partners, if they're part of a wider team, they're going to see when they're compatriots. So, bringing in big deals and they're going to see the details on that and they're going to be able to replicate it, which is good for everyone.
It's kind of cool to see how, if I have a visibility of how I'm being measured, what I'm bringing in, then I know where to shift my attention and where to kind of tweak either the messaging, the formatting, or even the offer, right? Sometimes there's companies that might not have the most compelling offer, but if you know how to frame the content in a way that it sounds compelling, most likely they're going to land on the website, right? And I've seen that happen a lot, right?
Yeah, awesome. I think you hit the nail on the head, yeah.
Awesome. So you did mention a couple challenges, like having to use Excel sheets, not having consolidated data in a tool, but what other challenges is your customers facing?
Yeah, sure. So, we can kind of run through the life cycle, but one of the main things that we see people struggling with it. Say if you hit your partnership target last year, you're probably well networked in the industry. You've probably called in a few favors, leveraged a few relationships, and now because you've hit your target, which is a great thing, it's now looking at being doubled. And so it's like, where are you going to go and find those new leads? And that's where our marketplace is really valuable. So I think being able to filter by geography, but also by, main activity is a way for, especially if you're faced with having to expand into a new market and it's perhaps not where your strongest network is, it's a really strong place to get you going. And then I think another one that we saw was definitely is the level of scalability, because it's like you mentioned earlier, it's like you need to know where to prioritize your time, because as partnerships scale, you can't just be as simple as, road meeting coming in. You need to understand, okay, who needs my help? First of all, like who's performing, who's engaging, because one of the big things that we saw is people will sign partnerships. It's not too difficult sometimes convincing someone to sign a partnership agreement. It is really difficult convincing them that you're worth their time, getting them to engage and getting to them to actually register deals. So I think partner drop-off rate is something that we really help with, but also the time to actually get people to recognize revenue is much quicker with us as opposed to without us.
No, 100%. I feel like that's something that we experienced as well, right? Is if you're not keeping that audience engaged and showing them how they can possibly make it real, get some buck out of it, right? They're gonna drop in the first 2 months, right?
Mhm.
Or even less, right? Especially if the deals are small. If they're big, they know that it requires some sort of effort to get there. But if they're small and they're not seeing anything, they're out, right? They're gonna go look for another solution to promote, right?
No, I think you're right, and that's something we're quite careful when we talk to customers, and that's something we're transparent with them. Is like, we can get you in front of people, we can enable you to do this, and we can enable you to do this at scale, but we need to have a good understanding of the business model, and that your deal size, allows for margins, so that the juice is going to be worth the squeeze. Because otherwise, it's like you say, otherwise it's not going to be a big motivation for people to engage.
For sure. I have a question, and this is more personal. For example, when you have a company that comes to you and and you have a gut feeling that they don't have a strong offer, what do you usually tell to them so that they can be well equipped to be successful in your platform?
Yeah, sure. I think so again, no one likes to be told their baby is ugly. And I think quite often when you're talking to someone, you can, especially when you're talking to a lot of people, you feel like, oh, I've seen this a million times before. You think you know the answer. So I think rather than offering advice immediately, I will just ask what is the reason? What is the reason for that? So like, is there a reason behind the deal size being like that? Why is it structured that way? So I can understand a bit better. If if they have their reasons and they make complete sense to me, and it's genuinely not a good fit if it's not a good fit for the partnership model, I would advise them to look at something else, like maybe purely affiliate link, co-marketing as opposed to partnership reselling. If if there's maybe something I've spotted with their business model, something where I've seen, someone else make a really good pivot in a similar space, then I would give that as an example and explore those possibilities and maybe guide them along that way. So it's kind of a case by case basis. The key challenges are always going to be around. So branding is important. It's being able to represent yourself in front of partners and, really look like a big player and show that you're going to make their life easier. Like you say, that the juice is going to be worth the squeeze, so that it's a good commercial fit. But also you can show them that you've got really strong processes. And I think being able to show them, the analytics and stuff is a way of demonstrating that your partnerships work, that you recognize revenue, etc. So I think that's important. And then being able to quickly identify and pivot into new markets without having to, spend weeks building lists and doing it at a very slow rate. So it's, being able to access thousands of resellers as opposed to maybe tens.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that. I wanted to ask another question. Have you seen it successful when you're sending out like monthly emails of like the top performers? Uh, let's say for this week in this month in terms of revenue, just to motivate people to actually believe more in the program. Have you seen that being successful? Have you seen partners take that into account?
Yeah, I think 100%. It's like you say, success breeds more success. I think it's especially in sales, I think having a good belief mindset is really important. And I think that is always, competence breeds confidence. So I think seeing that in action is very important. And that's why we focused on the kind of two-sided analytics, so that your partners have got very kind of keen visibility of that as well. And yes, we absolutely recommend that, that our vendors, that they champion the partners who are doing well and kind of promote that throughout the business.
Yeah, like I saw a company, for example, Go High Level. I see that they do that every month. So they do like a recap. And obviously, you as a person wanting to be competitive, you go into their profile, you see how they're posting, you kind of grab some ideas. It's not about copying the person, it's more modeling what they're doing right so that you can also bring in results, right? So that's the reason why I mentioned it. But at this point, I do want to go to our audience's favorite part, which is showing the demo.
So so before we get into the demo, let me set the scene a bit for you. So let's imagine we'll put you in the shoes of kind of one of our customers, someone who actually came to us recently. Let's say it was a 1.3 million target the previous year. This lady had hit the target, done an excellent job, again, by leaning on a lot of her personal network and connections, and really kind of squeezing the value out of that. She was then faced with the task of doubling that target, but also expanding into the US market. Now, this person was based in the UK. She had a really strong network around Europe, but not so much in the US. And she was looking for new accounting software resellers in the US to kind of get her pipeline going. So taking you on this partner journey. So again, there are two kind of jobs that she's faced with for this year. That's finding more lemons and getting more juice out of each lemon that she can find. So we'll start with the finding more lemons part, by coming to the marketplace. So this marketplace has got over 85,000 resellers. It's focused completely on resellers and partners, as opposed to kind of, companies looking to sell their solution. So she was looking to get into the United States, and to find accounting software. And I think her current list was about 4 or 5 that she'd identified when she come with us, but she wasn't completely confident in what they did or whether they'd be kind of relevant to her. So with a couple clicks on the marketplace, she was able to identify thousands here, and you can kind of see if you come into here, you can get more detail in what they do in terms of full service, where they're located, and other links, etc., for you to get in contact. So for her, this was massive, and you can add these and create your own lists. So for her, she managed to cut out, a good couple months of her process and kind of start going off the important stuff, which is recognizing revenue. And so I think once you've identified all this kind of new land that you can go after, you need a way to be able to manage it, but also to onboard it. So the collaboration hub. So Dave, you were talking earlier about the importance of, having everything in one place so that you can really enable your partners to go and sell. So this is where you would have kind of all your documents, like, your value proposition. Maybe you've got, partnership planning documents. We also recommend having documents in there kind of as to how you're going to engage in the sales cycle. So who's going to do what part. So it's super clear here. Okay. And the other thing that's cool about this is, so this is something that they can have access to immediately. When you update content, you can treat people as kind of, whole bunch, or you can subcategorize in based on, what sectors your vendor is going to be focused on.
Got it.
And the other thing that's cool is you can immediately know who's actually engaging with your content. And if anyone doesn't log in, if anyone doesn't engage for over a week, they're going to be sent an automated email with a link to come and rejoin the platform. So as a new partner manager taking on lots and lots of, new partnerships, this is a way for you to get your overview and to be able to onboard at scale, especially when you're dealing with teams where, they might have many salespeople within the team. they might have a high turnover rate, and you, as a small team, you might not have the capacity to kind of engage and do all of these meetings and be enabling people every time someone joins the team.
I did wanted to ask you, do you guys have some sort of like an announcement layout where, if there's any updates on the company, anybody will be notified, or is all managed through the email outreach?
Yes, so we have the email alerts, but also we have the dashboards. And what's cool about the dashboards is your partners will see mapped views on this. So what you're going to be able to see in here is you're going to be able to see all the deals that have come in, but you can even click onto individual partners. And here you're going to have all the high level views, like in terms of pipeline, how much is closed won, but also the things that need your attention. So you can see there's pending deals here. You can click on and get all the information that you need to know, including time frames. So you're going to know, how urgent is it for you to, if like you were talking earlier about how you need to prioritize your time, especially when you're dealing with larger organizations and multiple deals, so that you can essentially get the most bang for your buck.
100%. No, thanks for sharing that. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to who's responsible to make sure that your prospects are successful, do they have like a customer success rep? Do they have somebody that'll be looking out for them? Or do you feel that the tool itself is very self-serve, where there's not too many questions asked? I can easily go in there and start activate my account. How does that kind of work?
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's super intuitive, and that was something that was very important to us when we built it, because I mean, sales reps in particular can be very lazy. Take one look at something and say, not using it. And that's why we made it possible for people to sign up to the platform in less than 60 seconds. So that there's no argument when that gets done.
Got it.
The other cool thing about it is that the deal registration, so your partners can register deals. And one of my favorite tricks for if you're having a sales rep who's, let's say they're a top performer and they're not engaging with the content, you can actually register a lead and provide them a lead. So essentially the flip side of deal registration, and hand them leads, because what sales rep isn't going to engage when you're handing them a hot opportunity?
100%. That's definitely sick. The last question that I wanted to ask is, what are the KPIs that your ideal customer use to evaluate their success with your software for this use case, and what quantifiable outcomes can they expect?
Yeah, sure. So again, one of the first things to track is obviously, so revenue and pipeline and the change in that. But kind of flipping it on its back, if we go through what you're going to be able to measure immediately. So start off in the first week, you'd want to see your partners registering deals, because again, if they're a worthwhile partnership, you'd assume that they've got a couple of opportunities that are available. You're also going to want to see your partners engaging with the content and start tracking, okay, what percentage are we on this? So how many of our reps have actually engaged with our content, and then start building that up. But I think the two kind of main metrics where we're really going to shine are number of partnerships signed, and then also the churn rate. So we're very, very good at reducing the churn rate, because we speed up the time to revenue. Because essentially, the quicker people are signing deals, the more value they see in the partnership. And so we're a big believer in kind of a lot of what we did around here was, how can we set people up to really recognize a deal within the first month of a partnership, or within the first 2 months, so that more of these are successful.
No, that makes sense. But I do have a question. When it comes to submitting a lead, do you also have the option to create like a link in case I want to create content online? Is there a way that also work with you guys, or right now it's just a lead submission?
So in terms of affiliate links, we're not doing that at the moment. It's something we're considering, but at the moment our main bread and butter is around the reseller and the partnerships. And the reason for that is we want to bring in really qualified leads for our customers, because again, I think we've seen a big transition shift in the way that B2B SaaS sales has happened. And I think there's been some great things that have happened, but one of the things I think everyone can agree on is this kind of the spray and pray, machine gun, pitch slapping, using AI or SDRs. I think that needs to stop. So it's very important. Again, high volume is super important, but make sure you're talking to ICP. Make sure you're talking to people who it's relevant for, so you're not wasting your time and you're not pissing off half the SaaS world. So I think that's important. So we're very much focused on those qualified opportunities.
No, that makes sense. I feel like it also depends on what kind of solution you have, right? I'll give you an example with us, right? We enable our partners to bring in remote candidates for job opportunities, right? So it does require a lot of content, a lot of sellers to come into the marketplace, right? But when it comes to the buyers, we want to make sure they're highly qualified, right? It's not just any candidate looking for a job. We also want to make sure that those buyers are highly qualified and have the budget time frame for them to hire a remote candidate, right? So it usually differentiates based on what you're offering, whether the link is going to work or not, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right, and you're definitely speaking our language, because we're the same. So to register a deal and to bring that through, you have to qualify it for it to come through to that stage. So I think the workflow definitely makes sense, and especially for a product like that where it's educational as well, where there's a kind of there's kind of an awareness curve that customers have to go through in that education piece.
Absolutely. And can you give us a little bit of information regarding how the pricing looks?
Yeah, sure. So our packages start from 10K, and then they scale kind of depending on how much support and how many licenses you need. Cool thing about us is we don't charge you more if you sign more partners. You can have unlimited partners on the page and unlimited usage. Regardless, it's just how many partner users you want. How many vendor users you want on the platform.
Got it. It will be 10K a year or 10K a month?
10K annually, yeah.
Annually? Okay, got it. Awesome. Well, that was a great session. Anything else you want to share? I feel like we kind of touched base on the few things that I wanted to cover, but anything else that pops up?
Not off the top of my head. I think it's been a really great session. It's good to speak again, and it's always good to talk, Dave.
Awesome. Well, guys, for those that are looking to not get burned out, if you're looking for new resellers, I will go ahead and leave the link on the description, and our man Hugo will be here to support you if you have any questions. Thank you for being here, Hugo.
Thanks for having me, Dave.